Helpings for the Heart. It is written founder George Vandeman's favorite stories. The Worst Sinner in Town. Samuel Chadwick, a great Methodist preacher, was young and inexperienced, and self-confident as he began his ministry. He prepared his sermons with the utmost care. He worked hard, but nothing was being accomplished either inside or outside of the little church under his care. Then God did something for him personally. His own heart was renewed, and his members were revived. During this time, as he read from the Gospel of John, he was intrigued by the story of Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. He was impressed by the fact that many came to see Lazarus, the man Jesus had called back to life. And when they had seen Lazarus, a living demonstration of the power of Christ, then they were ready to listen to Jesus. So Chadwick decided that what his little church needed was a Lazarus, a man so dead and buried in sin that he seemed completely hopeless. And Chadwick, along with his members, began praying that God would save the worst sinner in town. They prayed for weeks, and then it happened. The man came of his own accord. He was a dreadful character. Everybody in town knew him. Nobody ever expected he would be any better. So far as the man himself could remember, he had never been to a religious service except in jail. He was the terror of the neighborhood. Well, he came to church and signed a temperance pledge. The members wanted to pray with him, but he said, "Not this time. One thing at a time." So they continued to pray. 2 weeks later, he came to church again, and the members' hearts nearly stood still as they saw this big, rough man in his work clothes walk down the aisle and fling himself on his knees. The next morning, he told his fellow workmen what had happened, and they laughed. In the past, they wouldn't have dared to say a cross word to him, but now he was changed. He didn't retaliate, so they persecuted him cruelly. One day, as they were working, a bar slipped and jammed his finger. Before he was aware of it, a curse word flew from his lips. The men laughed, but only for a moment. They released his finger and wanted to wrap it up, but he wouldn't let them. Tears streamed down his face as he said in a broken voice, "I have a bigger wound than this. We'll have that seen to first." And then, surrounded by the men who had heard him swear, he dropped to his knees and prayed earnestly and simply for forgiveness. When he had finished, he stood up and said, "It's all right. God has forgiven me. Now we'll have to get the finger wrapped up." You can guess what happened. The news of his conversion spread like wildfire. Hundreds came to the little church from far and near to see the man Christ had raised from the dead as surely as he had raised Lazarus. Chadwick said, "The resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead is the New Testament standard of power. It is the sample and pledge of what God can do for human beings." Yes, the resurrection of Jesus is the sample and pledge of what God wants to do and can do for you and me.